Hi, I'm Anna Thomas, a senior policy analyst with Voices for Utah Children, and this is going to be a brief recap of some early childhood care and education legislation from the recently concluded 2022 Utah legislative session. First, we had a couple of positive bills related to childcare, which is excellent. A few years ago, we could barely have a civil conversation about childcare needs up at the Capitol, and now legislative leaders have been very supportive of efforts to begin to address our childcare crisis, and that is definitely a win. HB 15, childcare amendments from Representative Susan Pulsipher, successfully passed through the entire legislative process and will become state law in a couple of months. HB 15 includes several different provisions and programs that we hope will increase Utah families' access to childcare in the next few years. This bill allows certain community reinvestment dollars to be used to support the development of childcare businesses and includes childcare as a priority in the development of transportation reinvestment zones. It also creates a grant program to incentivize employers to work with local childcare providers to ensure access to childcare for their employees. Unfortunately, there was a provision in this bill that will allow people to care for more children in their homes for pay without any licensing or certification from the state. Simply allowing more children to be cared for by a single adult, especially without any safety oversight or professional expectations, is not something that will really help families in the long run. But the sponsor did include a new cap on the total number of children that can be in the home of an unlicensed child care provider, including their own kids, and we think that is a great move. Kids need attention, support, and interaction in order to thrive in these settings while their parents are working, and we don't want to compromise the health and safety of little kids while we work to increase access to child care. HB 375, Office of Child Care Amendments from Representative Ashley Matthews, passed successfully through the House of Representatives, but did not receive a hearing in the Senate. The legislature ran out of time to consider the bill, as well as other important bills, in the final hours of the session. HB 375 would have directed the Office of Child Care to conduct a more comprehensive study on the cost of providing child care at different levels of quality in Utah. Usually the state does a simple market rate study every 3 years, but this more in-depth study would examine the underlying expenses that drive the costs of child care while taking into account the persistent underpayment of child care workers and other systemic issues. Though the bill didn't pass, the Office of Child Care has indicated that it will nonetheless pursue this expanded study in place of their usual market rate study, and we are very appreciative of that. In order to create better child care policy and help families in Utah that rely on child care every day, we need to have good information about how the child care sector is and isn't working, and we think this report can really help. SB 127, Early Literacy Outcomes, sponsored by Senator Ann Milner, successfully passed and will bring many resources to bear in our public schools to address specifically reading and literacy issues that we're seeing among our students. This bill takes a multifaceted approach to strengthening teachers' skills in the most updated educational approaches to literacy and increasing access to materials that will support literacy in both the classroom and in the home. This is a good bill supported by Voices and many other early education advocates. So it's great that it passed. A couple other positive early care and education bills passed this session as well. HB 21 from Representative Steve Handy requires lead testing in schools and center-based child care programs, and, very key, provides the funding to help cover the cost of testing and any improvements that need to be taken based on what the testing discovers. HB 290 from Representative Karen Peterson makes some small but important changes to the state's high-quality school readiness program, which supports high-quality preschool for kids in both public school and private child care settings. We really appreciate the efforts of all these legislators in keeping the spotlight on the needs of our littlest learners, whether they're learning in home, in childcare settings while their parents are at work, or in our public schools. And we really look forward to continuing the conversation and the work with these folks and other community stakeholders in the year ahead. Thanks.